So let's talk about Facebook. Facebook, as I mentioned, wasn't the first social media network. There was ones that were predecessors to it, but it's definitely the one that's the biggest. It's the biggest kid in the block, if you could say. And a lot of time is spent on social media, and it's actually going grayer. We've seen it change a lot. So when Facebook first came out, as you know, it was for college students. And then they opened it up to anybody with an email address. And then a little bit after that is when businesses really started to see the value. And since then, Facebook has noticed. Facebook has also gone public. So they're looking at ways to make money for their shareholders, of course. That's why you're seeing more ads. And what we've noticed, too, as practitioners, is that Facebook is getting grayer. What we mean by that is we're getting more older users as opposed to the younger. We actually have the son of one of our clients said, Instagram is for young people and Facebook is for old people. And it's hilarious because a couple years ago, that wasn't the case. Facebook was the hot thing. Now it's not so much, but it's good for business because now we know business makers, people that would have more discretionary income, they may not be 12 years old, they may not be 14 years old, they're gonna be older. So that's good for us. That should be music to our ears because that's probably more of our market is getting onto Facebook now. And so we can send messages to them.
So if you're a business attracting consumers, this is your platform. So if you're, if you're a bakery, if you're, Toyota, automobile, if you're spa or whatever you are, but you're really, attracting the general public, this is for you. Hence, by the way, this graph is higher because at the end of the day, it's mainly consumers. There's a lot of consumers in Facebook timeframe. So as you can see, that's like 1 out of 7 minutes is spent on Facebook. I think it's like people said that they check their Facebook account like 5 times a day. And I know the staff checks theirs like 10 times a day. So, but I just want to give you that. So if keep in mind, if I have a business in mind, or if you have relatives and they want to be in consumer, Facebook is your platform.
Twitter is another. How many people use Twitter or know about Twitter? Great. Twitter is one of our favorites too. It didn't start as certainly a business platform, but it became one. And now that Twitter has done their IPO as well, you're going to see more advertising. We get emails from Twitter all the time asking us to spend advertising dollars on behalf of our clients. So it's interesting to see this platform change. It has a lot of growth, especially in the international world. There's a lot of countries, Latin America, Venezuela, I think is the number 1. And I just saw an article saying that Indonesia has really gravitated toward Twitter recently. So definitely if you have customers overseas that aren't just domestic, this is a good place to go. The thing that we love about Twitter is kind of like sending an email to somebody, but blind carbon copying the world because it's public, it's open. Facebook, as you may know, in order to send a message to Shaylin, I have to first send a friend request to Shaylin. And Shaylin can say, do I want to be Ashley's friend or not? So she has to opt in almost. She has to allow me to be her friend. And then and only then can I have conversations with her. If I have a business page, first I have to hope that Shaylin will like me. Once Shaylin likes me, then I can send messages to her. Twitter's different. Twitter, we can follow people and see what they're talking about without them having to really accept us or not. Some if you have one for your personal account, you may choose to protect your tweets, meaning that someone can't follow you unless you accept them. But for most companies, it's wide open. You can create, we like it for business intelligence. Twitter has as a feature where you can have lists. So you can track your competitors without them even knowing that you're looking at them. You can have private lists. Or you can use the list feature as a mechanism to draw attention to yourself. So for us, we have it where people will add Chatterbuzz to a list of social media influencers. And it's a public list, so we get notified. And then we feel great. And then we want to know, well, who the heck is that? And so then we're interested in them. So they've used it as a PR tool, as a publicity tool. Twitter is really great because it's fast, it's in real time. With Facebook, the tolerance for messages is shorter. So as a business, you probably want to put maybe 2 to 3 posts a day, and that's it. Because if you put any more than that, you're going to clog up people's news feeds, and they're going to get tired and unlike you. Twitter, it's much more flexible. Twitter, to do it well, at the optimum, I would do 9 tweets a day. Now, 9 tweets a day because it moves fast. By the time I put a message out, I can't, hours later, it's not going to be there when somebody goes and logs onto Twitter, right? So you need more messages continuously to stay on people's radar. So Twitter is a very, very interesting one. We've seen it used a lot for business lately.
Yeah, and like I said, just Ashley was mentioning, if you've seen Twitter used heavily for, when we're watching news, did you guys realize that the newscaster, they always have the Twitter hashtag in the bottom now? Yeah. So if you want to have a news right then and there, you're watching your news and you just want to comment on the news or that person, you could literally like conversate with that newscaster immediately. The same thing for decision makers and CEOs. So whoever it is, a lot of people now, even Obama has a Twitter, so if you really want to get your name out there, you could just literally just put the @ sign and then what the Twitter handle is, and then your message. And believe me, like for example, for us, we will get notified that someone had mentioned our handle as if someone's talking to me. So it's another way to really talk to people and again, just find who they are.
So it's interesting. You'll see Twitter used a lot in reference to customer service. When we get mad, we always complain via Twitter, and we get the situations rectified instantly, because it's almost like being like this. If I ask Shaylin, you didn't answer my email. Well, she's under pressure now to respond because, look, everybody heard me say it, right? So that's the really powerful thing, and I think the thing that tickles us and really fascinates us about Twitter.